Hello and welcome to Cyber Focus, your source for international business information. My name is Tim Smith and you're watching our series on business and peace. Today our guest is Richard Buangan. Richard is currently the Managing Director for International Media, overseeing the offices of International Media Engagement, the Foreign Press Centers, and the Rapid Response Unit in the Bureau of Public Affairs at the U.S. State Department. Previously, he served as Director of the Office of Digital Engagement, where he managed the State Department's flagship social media platforms and created digital strategies for the department. He oversees assignments that have included Jerusalem, Abidjan, Paris, Beijing, probably a few others as well. Today, Richard will share with us how business can use their digital presence and multicultural assets to impact the world's peace project. Richard, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Tim. Good to be here. Thank you.
Would you share your thoughts on how business can play a role in fostering peace?
Sure. I mean, businesses are doing a lot already to cultivate exchanges, to cultivate friendly relations between countries. You know, as businesses expand overseas, as foreign businesses come here to the United States and American businesses go internationally, it's a real good opportunity to have a conversation and talk about things that we find in common.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So maybe I'll go this direction. How important is it for businesses working globally to take a close look at their digital presence? What should they keep in mind?
Right. Well, there are three things that come to mind when I think of that. Number one, we talk about going globally, but the first lesson you have to learn is keep it local, right? So make sure that the content that you have on your website or your digital platform is tuned to local audiences, and something that's often overlooked. Number two, understand the local markets, right? Understand how people respond to digital properties, understand how they respond to information and data, because it's different depending on which country you go to. Sure. So having a local expert or someone that you can consult with to look at your digital presence and say, in that market, that works. And then number three, and the most important, use the language. Don't assume that everyone speaks English. I'm sure that in a lot of countries you'll have a sizable population that speak English, but make sure that you have some content in the local language so people can understand.
Okay, interesting. So how about any best practices or role models that you feel have adopted these strategies and it's been effective?
So, you know, I think about some of the global US companies like Coca-Cola and Nike, and how they have been able to understand local market conditions, and they've been able to adapt and tailor their content so local audiences can appreciate the products that they have. I mean, you can look at universally, Nike and Coke and McDonald's and a lot of US global companies have a universal appeal, but what they really succeed in is making their products relevant to local audiences.
Okay, thanks. With the rapid growth of digital media and social media platforms, could you tell us how businesses can use these platforms to help foster peace?
Absolutely. You know, businesses are already doing that, especially ones that have a digital platform. By having that conversation, they're able to use their platforms to talk about some of the values behind their products. These values, people will find we have a lot in common. Being able to have a conversation, as I said earlier, being able to provide that feedback and creating the network so people will be able to appreciate what businesses have to offer, and businesses will understand what local audiences want in terms of providing those products.
Yeah, great, thanks. Your career with the State Department has taken you across the globe. How has being exposed to multiple cultures impacted your career and perspective on digital engagement?
Well, you know, I look back and I think about all of the successes and the failures that we've had, and I can't help but appreciate how digital has really created a networked world. You know, we look at how conversations and relationships traditionally are either horizontal or vertical. In the digital sphere, they're networked. It's very amorphous. And you look at how relationships build networks and how they expand on other networks and how clusters of relationships can merge with other clusters of relationships. That's what's going on in the digital sphere. Through conversations, through sharing, through networking, we found that having conversations in the digital sphere It isn't, they don't care who you are. They just want to have a conversation with you and learn from you. And I think there's a lot that we can learn from people.
Absolutely. Some of the dialogues I've had with students across the world is they're all students.
Yes.
And they all really want about the same thing.
Exactly. And you look at some of the conversations we were able to bring together with young Americans and young students overseas. They have the same desires. They have the same sort of things that they're interested in. And then when you find that there are things that they are not, there's no commonality, the conversation becomes very interesting.
Richard, thank you so much for joining us today and for stopping by to speak with us.
Thank you, Tim. It was great to be here.
Thanks. That's all for this edition of Cyber Focus. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any comments or suggestions for future topics, please let us know at CIBER, that's CIBER at indiana.edu.